I'm just trying to figure out what the heck happened today. Okay. Active shooter scare at Walter Reed was a drill. It was actually a drill and exercise that sent shaken people, including a sitting member of Congress, scrambling for cover. Ruppersberger, like others, didn't know it was a drill. At no point was there any indication that this was a drill, he wrote on Twitter after the all clear was given. The U.S. Navy said on Twitter that it was aware of the incident unfolding at Walter Reed Hospital and later confirmed it was a drill, saying that the active shooter event aboard Naval Support Activity Bethesda Day was the result of the improper use of a mass notification system by a tenant command aboard the installation. While preparing for an upcoming drill, the notification system was inadvertently enacted without containing the words exercise or drill. That is just crazy to me that they're going to blame it on the notification system. And let me tell you why. First of all, I work at Walter Reed Medical Center, and I've been keeping this a secret from my main channel for quite some time just because I don't really want a lot of people on the internet knowing where I work. But since my husband is about to get out of the Navy in February, I feel a little bit more comfortable talking about the situation, and because I do want to address a little bit of what happened today, at least from my point of view. First of all, I think it's a little crazy that, I don't know how true this is, but I'm reading this off of USA Today, and they're stating that the US Navy basically said that it was the result of improper use of a mass notification system. Okay, I am going to tell you guys my story and what happened, and obviously we know at this point that it was a drill or there wasn't actually an active shooter, but nonetheless, I still feel like it was very traumatizing to be put in that situation and be misinformed, I guess, if that's the word. I don't really know. There's so much confusion when it comes to this situation that happened today. I'm just going to tell you guys the story from my point of view, and I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad for me. I just want to share kind of like what happened to me because I worked there, and I've been seeing so much stuff on social media, so much hearsay, people are making up stories, and I just want to tell you guys what happened from my perspective. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I work at Walter Reed, and it was about, let me see when I got the phone call. I got a phone call at 2:12 from, I guess it's called the Everbridge Mass Notification System. Basically, it's an automated system that puts out notifications about the hospital or anything that we as workers or patients should be aware of. So it could be anything from like an accident near the base that's going to cause traffic jam, or like a broken pipe outside of base, or anything serious that we should be aware of. They notify us through this automated system and this automated phone call. So I'm sitting at my desk and I get this phone call and I answer it. I don't know that it's what we like to call the demon dialer. I don't know that it's the demon dialer calling, but I answered it and it said, "This is Walter Reed," you know, and it starts talking and doing its thing. And I immediately hang up just because we get these phone calls weekly and most of the time they're drills. I know, sounds really stupid of me to do that. I hang up the phone and I immediately get a text from the demon dialer, and the text message says, I'll put it right here on the screen. It doesn't say drill. I have been at Walter Reed since 2019 and we are always notified. I don't think there's ever been a time where we haven't been notified if it was a drill or not. And usually we're told ahead of time. And if we're not told ahead of time that it's gonna happen like a week before it happens, then they let us know over the intercom, like, hey, code white, this is a drill. I repeat, this is a drill, shelter in place. So I read that text message and I look at my coworker and I'm like, apparently there's a code white. I think there's an active shooter on base. And she looks at me and she goes, yeah, I just got that text too. So we run out of our office area and people are in the hallways doing their own thing, just kind of acting like nothing's going on. And I'm like, wait a minute, what is happening? Like, are we the only ones that got the notification? Are people aware that this is a drill and I'm not aware? Did I misread the text? Like, so many things are going through my head. I just start telling people that there's a code white and there's an active shooter and that I don't think it's a drill. And my coworker is telling people the same thing. I was hoping that if it was a drill that she would have read that it was a drill on her phone and maybe corrected me. So anyway, we're running around the area trying to tell people to like close all the doors and shelter in place. And I run up front to the lobby and the person's just sitting at the front desk typing away. And I tell the receptionist, I'm like, it's code white, there's an active shooter on base. I don't know if they're in the hospital, but on base. I work on the second floor. I don't know if that's TMI, but I hear people in the lobby downstairs on the first floor, which is near the entrance of the hospital, and they're yelling, code white, they're in the building, the active shooter's in the building. So that's all I know at this point. I'm like, oh my gosh, the person's in the building. You know, I just know that I got a notification on my phone and I just know that someone's yelling that they're in the building and they're yelling it from the first floor, which is by the entrance. So I'm assuming that person knows a little bit more than I do. At this point, my phone is on 15%. And it's kind of stupid of me, but I'm like, look, I don't know how long I'm gonna be locked away in this room. Let me run back into my office and grab my charger. As I'm running into the office to get my charger, everyone is running out of the office and they're all gathering in a room. So I get about halfway into my office and I don't even get my charger. I just immediately turn around and I'm like, you know what, this is stupid of me. This is how people die. So I don't even grab it and then I just run into the room with all of them. So we're all sitting in an office. There's about 10 of us in there. We just keep hearing on the intercom, code white, active shooter. This is not a drill, shelter in place. Something about like getting down low, or I don't know, stay away from doors, basically, get down low. There's just, I can't even really clearly make out what they were saying because I was just so flustered at the time. So 10 of us are sitting in the room and I'm trying to text my family members to let them know what's going on, because all I know at this point is that the intercom's telling me it's not a drill. My phone's telling me it's not a drill. I hear someone on the first floor yelling that there's an active shooter in our building, out of the entire hospital in our building. So I'm trying to text my family members and let them know what's going on. Like, there's just so many things going through my head. I'm like, what if it's the last time I actually talked to them? Are my kids safe? Because my kids go to daycare on base. I knew my husband was safe because my husband happened to be off base during the time. But I'm just trying to let everyone know in my family that what the situation is. So as we're all sitting in the room, I look up and I ask everyone, I'm like, hey guys, like, does that door lock? Because people are standing in front of the door and they look at me and they're like, no, it doesn't lock. And I'm like, well, what are we doing in here then? They're like, we can't leave. They're like, let's push the desk in front of this door. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, you literally hear about this when people tell their stories. Like, you hear about people moving furniture in front of the doors. Like, that's when it started, like, being like, okay, this is getting real. So I start ripping cords out of the wall, like anything connected to the computer. Like, I'm sorry for the IT guys that have to come back and set everything up. Like, I was literally ripping things out of the wall. I don't even know if I broke anything. I was just so determined to get that desk against the door. So I start ripping things out of the wall and they're already sliding the desk over before everything's pulled out. So like a computer monitor almost fell on the floor and I'm just like ripping cords left and right. And finally we shove it to in front of the door. And inside the office, there's a bathroom door and we decide to go into the bathroom finally because the bathroom has a lock. I'm like, what are we doing? Let's go in there, you know? Everyone agreed like that was probably the best place to hide. So we all gather into the bathroom and of course I'm like in the farthest corner away from the door, like as far as I could be in the bathroom, but the bathroom was only so big. And at this point we're standing pretty much shoulder to shoulder and there's no place to sit down. About every 10 minutes someone gets on the intercom and they're like, code white, this is not a drill. shelter in place, take cover. So I'm still texting my family at this point, and I'm just letting them know that I'm completely terrified. I still don't know much. One of my good friends that I actually met through my other YouTube channel, his name is Paul, he's a cop, and I want to say thank you very much for reaching out to me, Paul. He actually wrote me on Instagram to see if I was okay because he knew that I worked at the hospital, and he sent me a link to like a live stream on YouTube, but my phone was on like 8% at this point, so I didn't want to stream anything because I needed to save the power on my phone so that I could stay in contact with my family. So I sent the link to everyone that I could think of or who was texting me at the time, and I was just trying to get updates through them because I figured that would allow for me to have the most battery on my phone. About an hour goes by, and at this point people are texting me saying that it's all clear. I get a text message from the demon dialer saying that it's all clear. I get a phone call stating that it's all clear, and we're still sheltering in place because we haven't heard anything on the intercom. And the intercom comes on again. They're like, it is not all clear, shelter in place, code white. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like, people are telling me that it's clear, but the intercom is saying something different. And obviously I'm going to go off the intercom because that's literally in the hospital. I'm not going to go off what people are telling me that they see on social media. While I was in the bathroom, I remember thinking to myself, like, I know this is going to sound really dramatic, but like I said, I didn't really have much information than what my phone told me and what the intercom told me. So there was just so many things that were going through my mind at the time. I was just kind of like, if the active shooter does come, like, these are the people that I'm going to die with. Like, that just doesn't sit right with me, just because, for so many reasons I don't even need to explain. And while this was all happening, I forgot to mention, while this was all happening, it was very quiet in the bathroom. Everyone, there's this girl next to me, she's like freaking out. She's like, you know, like crying. I see her crying and I'm trying to rub her back, but at the same time, I'm doing the ugly face cry too, trying to be quiet. And I'm trying to like calm myself down, but I'm shook, so I'm like just freaking out. More so, I was just freaked out, I guess you could say. And it was really quiet in the bathroom, and someone wrote me on social media and they're like, there were gunshots on the 3rd floor, which is close to the floor I was on, and they're like, shots heard. Again, probably a rumor, probably something someone said on social media, but I start to kind of believe it. I have to kind of be alert, you know, what people are telling me, I have to take it with a grain of salt, but at the same time kind of take it seriously because I want to be prepared. So I speak up. Everyone, like I said, everyone's really quiet in the bathroom, and I finally speak up and I'm like, what are we going to do if the shooter comes in our room? We need to come up with a plan. And no shade towards anyone that was in the bathroom with me, but a couple people, the response was, he's not going to come in here. And yes, that's a very optimistic outlook. And did it happen? No, it didn't happen. I'm just the type of person that likes to be overly prepared. So when they said that, I started thinking of like my own plan in my head. Like, if this person comes in, what would I do? So I started talking myself into what I was gonna do and kind of like replaying a situation in my head, because I think that people act on instinct a lot of the time when they're in a situation like this, and I think instinctually I would want to run and scream, but that's probably like the worst thing to do in that kind of situation. So I just kept telling myself, like, if they do come in here, then I'm just going to lay down on the floor and play dead. Especially since I was the farthest one away from the door, then I feel like my chances of being shot were a lot less than the people who were towards the front. All in all, everything was fine in the end. after an hour of sheltering in place and hearing the repetitive intercom say that it was not a drill, it was all clear after about, I think it was a little over an hour, and everything kind of went back to normal. I didn't even really go searching on social media or watch the news or anything to figure out what happened. Like I said, I just kind of looked it up on my phone not too long ago, and it says that it was a drill, but the entire time this situation was happening, it was not a drill. And even if the alert or the notification system had failed on our phone and on our text messages or calls or whatever, I still think that they would have informed us through the intercom, because if anything, someone on base had to have known that it was a drill. So that just sounds really fishy to me. It still doesn't sit right with me. And like I've mentioned, I've been at this hospital for going on, it's been a little over 4 years now, and we've always been told when there's a drill. It's never just been like a surprise drill, it's never been a secret drill. Like, there have been code whites in the past, but it was always, there was a cause for it. It was never just like a random untold drill. Like, it's always planned ahead of time. For it to be blamed on the fact that there was just poor communication, that just doesn't really make sense to me, especially because there is an intercom and they repetitively told us that it wasn't a drill. So let me know what you guys think or what your theory is. After, it's kind of funny, once I left the hospital, I was waiting for my husband to pick me up because, like I mentioned, he wasn't on base, and I saw a few police officers outside with their rifles. So being a vlogger, I took my camera out and I started recording the police officer with the rifles, and I was recording the helicopter, and I was trying to record the situation so that I could show you guys what it looked like outside when I came outside. But I got yelled at by one of the police officers, and he was like, ma'am, get over here, and he like made me instantly delete my footage on my camera. So yeah, honestly, I wasn't trying to make this vlog dramatic. I wasn't trying to make anyone feel bad for me. I just wanted to let you guys know the situation from someone who actually works in the hospital. Everyone has their own theories about what happened. It all seems kind of fishy to me because no stories really line up. Maybe they just really wanted us to act as if it wasn't a drill, if that makes sense, because people act different in drill situations. That's the only thing that I can really wrap my head around, which is maybe that's the reason why they didn't tell us, but it just, like I said, it just doesn't make much sense to me. So that's my story of what happened, and honestly, after that, it's not something I ever want to go through again. And I don't know if I clearly mentioned this, but I didn't hear gunshots or anything. I think it was just more so the mixed information I was getting that was more scary, the unknown, if that makes any sense. That was probably scarier to me than anything. If this is the first video that you've seen on my channel, this probably isn't the place to start. So I'm sorry if this is the first video that you come across. But other than that, I'm glad that everyone's safe and that we all made it out okay. And I hope no one ever has to go through that in the future. I know there will be situations where people do, but it's very scary. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to my story. If you got through the whole thing, it was kind of long, but I just wanted to let you guys know what the situation was from my point of view.